Okay, it's taken a minute. Okay. Good evening. I'm Leanna Rossi Potter from SC for Ed in the Charleston County area. And tonight we have two candidates running for House 110. We have Miss Rebecca Cingolani and Mr. Rouzy Vafaie running for House 110. And they're going to share our platforms with us tonight and then answer about 4 questions on education. So Ms. Cingolani, if you could share your platform. Again, you have 2 to 3 minutes, well, 3 minutes max.
Hi, it's Rebecca Cingolani. I know that's a handful, so I'll
Sorry.
just say, no, it's totally fine. And I'm going to just start with my websites because that's the best place to find information about me. It's rc4se.com. And what I've started doing is podcasts that let people know who I am. It's called Know Your Candidate. And so as I'm going through this process, I am interviewing people, other individuals running, as well as people in the community, so that they are well informed about what I know and what I'm starting to understand based on running, because you learn so much information as you're going along. And so at some point when there's a lot of those, I will specifically take the education ones and put them together so that if you want to go there and see what it is that I'm about with regard to education, you'll get a more in-depth idea of what I'm learning as well, because there's so much to know. So I'm not going to ever act like that I know everything, because I'm learning as we're going along too. So just quickly is that I'm just going to give you my education background so that you know where I'm coming from, because I think that's helpful. My pre-K education was actually through a Baptist school. So I started out in a very strict fundamental background. And then I went to public school from kindergarten to 8th grade. And then when I was in high school, I went to a Catholic high school. And for college, I actually went to UC Santa Barbara and got a degree in biology. And part of that, I switched for a little while to organic chemistry. I don't know why, but I loved the math portion of it. So that was a really interesting switch. But ultimately, I just enjoyed biology. I had no desire to become a doctor, which most people that I was going to school with were planning on being some sort of doctor or another. But I just really love learning. And so that's where I started out. I'm actually a lifelong learner. I'm always reading, especially Audible. I love having my headphones on and just listening to books. Anything I can take in or information I can learn, I'm there. So I'm with you teachers with regard to making a great system that works for all of you and supporting you in any way that I can, because I really feel like the role of the teacher is to inspire as well as educate, and you can't do that if you're stressed out and doing paperwork. So that's where I'm starting with you all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Vafaie.
Should I start now? Oh,
yes, go right ahead.
Sorry. To learn more about my platform, you can go to my website. It's Rouzy for SC. So I'll just spell that out. It's ROUZY, the number 4 SC.com. Education is a big part of my platform, but it's not going to be your traditional kind of, let's spend money here, let's cut this here. It's actually a private public initiative to help drive the workforce towards STEM sector jobs. So essentially, it would be to incentivize tech companies or anything in the STEM realm to enter the South Carolina educational system. And not just enter it that representatives in Columbia do something, but they get together, they do their own little bit, and they think about the qualifications that would enhance their workforce. And at that point, they would essentially sponsor students to go through the university process, either 2 or 4 years. After that process, those students get a job with these companies for an X amount of time at a reduced salary. And the way this benefits the workforce is it creates and it reduces the strain on the educational, the public education, where funds can be diverted elsewhere. And that's really the basis of my educational platform.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're going to start with the questioning segment. There are 4 questions. You'll have 3 minutes to answer, and we will go back and forth. And the first question, we'll start with you, Rebecca. The first question is, and you'll both get the same questions. What is your opinion of the state of public education in South Carolina today?
I thank you for asking that question. It's a general enough question that it's different here in Charleston County than it is in other areas of the state. So it's a broad question, but if you're just to look at what's happening in general, our test scores are lower than they should be, and teachers are stressed out. They don't have the opportunity to teach as in an environment that is inspiring, because in order for teachers to do what it is that they're hired to do, they have to be given a platform and a place to thrive. And so my feeling about the state of education is that we need to be putting the teachers first and figuring out a way to foster that inspiration in them so they can pass that on to students. As far as the state of as it is, it's really a mess, I think. And I think it's a big enough issue that we can kind of start over or look at a way with the teachers to figure out a better system to start with, because all along the way we're just kind of putting plugs everywhere. And so rethinking how we're doing it, because as technology has changed in the last 20 years, and as it's going to change even more in the next 20 years, we have a really good opportunity to, one, figure out how to do funding differently, but also teach differently, because we have a lot more tools available to us, as we're seeing during this time when teachers are having to teach from home. But how do we carry that into the classroom that allows us to get a lot more creative, not only for us, but for you all, the teachers, but for the students as well, taking teaching from a 2D experience to a 3D experience and turning it into a 4D experience. We really need to look at education from a lot of different ways. It would serve the students well, because not everyone learns the same way as I know about myself. And just bringing that creativity into a different environment for the teachers as well as the students, and using that as a platform to formulate how it is that we're going to pay for it, and really get an idea of what's happening within the funding of it, because I think we still have the retirement. There's so many things that still need to be addressed that aren't being addressed. So there's a lot going on, and it needs to be a comprehensive plan, not just one thing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, same question to you, Rouzy. What is your opinion of the state of public education in South Carolina today?
You kind of cut out when you were asking that. Can you ask it again, please?
Okay, yep. What is your opinion of the state of public education in South Carolina today?
In one word, horrendous. If you look at rankings on U.S. News, I just pulled it up. South Carolina ranks 43rd out of 50 states. We're not following the models we should be following. A lot of that, I do believe, has to do with teacher pay. I have absolute respect for teachers. In fact, that was instilled by me by my father. So when he was a surgeon in Iran, and teachers couldn't afford to have an operation, he would do it for free. So that's kind of what he explained to me. You just have to respect teachers and respect the way they want to actually teach. So as a conservative, I don't believe that bureaucrats in Columbia should tell teachers how to teach. I think teachers need to be able to have the freedom to do it the way they think they can, because they know their students a lot better than let's say either Rebecca or I would know in Columbia, right? And I remember that from my own public education. So, I'm looking at these rankings, and ranked 43rd isn't good. 38% college educated is not good, right? So we're creating a very weak workforce. Something happened to my screen. Sorry. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of the way I want to approach things, it is that we have to stop treating answers the same way and expecting a different result. And that's exactly what we're doing. So when we're not improving on any factor at all, we're doing something wrong. So what I would like to do is actually create a dialogue with teachers to see what they actually want to do.
Okay, great. Okay, so on to our second question. So Rouzy, we'll start with you for the second question. So we're taking turns starting answering the questions, okay? So the second question is, if elected, what would be the first step you would take to improve public education?
The first step I would take is, again, ask teachers what they need and what their ideas are. One of my friends is Megan. I'm not going to give her last name, but she was part of the movement that went up to Columbia demanding a raise. And although I'm happy about that raise, I still think it's minuscule. And you're not going to be able to retain a dedicated workforce when they need to have 10 jobs just to make ends meet. So again, like just using my friend Megan, she has to tutor as well as come and teach and buy her supplies. It just the whole system just doesn't make sense to me. And I really don't think there's a Republican solution or a Democratic solution. I really actually think there's a teacher's solution, to ask them what they need to do to improve their classroom environment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Rebecca, I'll just say the question again. If elected, what would be the first step you would take to improve public education?
I think that he is right, most definitely, that teachers need to be in charge of what's happening in Columbia, and putting them on an oversight committee to help figure out the solutions, because you all are the ones that are going to have the answers. And then we're going to have to put a plan together based on the information that we're getting from you that's actually viable. And so not only are you going to have to help us figure how to make that viable, but I would ask, I know that you said just the first thing, but the second thing I would do is ask a lot of questions because I think there are a lot of questions that I have unanswered, and I would ask as many questions as I needed to figure out what is going on, to get a real picture, because it's easy to say what you're going to do, but once you get there, it's sometimes that translation can be hard. So I would just ask questions until I felt like I had a handle on it to know what the next step would be.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, Rebecca, so you're up for our third question. If elected, what would you do to address the funding in public education? What would you do to address the funding?
I definitely feel like there are a lot of places that we can expand our economy. I think there's two things that I would do. I would work on expanding the economy in South Carolina to bring more money in that we can use towards education, but not just in education, but all across the board in all of our systems. I feel like, and I did already say this, that there are a lot of inefficiencies that are going throughout not just education, but all over all of our systems. And that's just based on us having new technology, and we add to it, and then we add to it and add to it. And then it kind of doesn't work after a certain point in time, or it's just really inefficient. So the business analyst part of me wants to go in and find those inefficiencies and fix those, so that whatever money we do have, that we're trying to get the most out of those dollars. And so we can allocate whatever that is towards whatever we're wasting towards education, actually making that a real plan. Because it's not just with education. There are a lot of different systems that are in need of some extra TLC there.
Okay. All right. Rouzy, question to you. It was, if elected, what would you do to address the funding of public education?
Well, Rebecca actually hit on a couple of points on efficiency. We have a lot of wasteful spending, not just at the state level, but the federal level. So the conservative in me does not want to just throw more money after bad money until we actually know what the problems are. So identifying one problem is teacher salary, right? So you have to retain good teachers, and you have to bring in good teachers. Another problem is classroom size, right? When you have 50 kids crammed into a room, you're not going to be able to teach anyone. So that's why the plan I have about the private-public partnership would help the private sector develop a workforce, right? And the money that the state saves can then be transferred to public schools. That's one thought. Now, I'm not saying that, this is the amazing genius thought in the world, but it's something that I'd like to explore with people that are smarter than me, to see if it's actually a viable option that can improve not just the economy, but also education, and really get government out of the way to let the teachers actually be able to do what, well, you need to be doing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are at our final question, and Rouzy, this is for you to start. In your opinion, what would a successful accountability system for education in South Carolina look like?
An accountability.
Yeah, a successful accountability system for education.
I'm not sure
What would that look like?
Really understand accountability for teachers, for
Sure.
for students.
Teachers or the education system as a whole, like what would a system that we would make sure that our schools our teachers are accountable for the education that they are providing?
That's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about it, to be completely honest.
Okay.
So my fundamental feeling is when you go from a federal to the state level, I don't feel that someone in Washington should be telling someone in Charleston what kind of testing they have to do. There are fundamental cultural differences throughout the country in terms of what they teach where. Where I went to high school in Los Angeles, we had a huge newspaper shop, right? We didn't have a tool shop with trucks in it. But, I went to a school in Alabama, and their truck shed was the size of a football field, right? But they didn't have a newspaper. So the teachers there, I mean, that's what they know what to do, right? It's a local knowledge of what that student needs, right? So I suppose using that same model, it would be down to the counties to determine what they need and how best they're going to get the best out of each student and each teacher.
Okay, thank you. All right, Rebecca, same question to you. In your opinion, what would a successful accountability system for education in South Carolina look like?
It is a rather hard question to answer, I feel like. But having that an oversight committee where the teachers are helping figure out what's happening as far as how we're approaching education, I think is important. But I also feel like the accountability system that we have for teachers is overwhelming. And so going the other way, I think we need to rethink that. But I don't know the answer to that because I haven't been there and seen what it is that you have to go through, what the teachers have to go through as far as accountability on a day-to-day basis or even an hour-to-hour basis, right? And so I don't know what that answer looks like, but I know that there is an easier way. And with the technology that we have, just getting our systems in place to streamline that so that it's so much easier and adaptable. The biggest part about technology now is that we're hitting a threshold where we can adjust it more easily. So making sure that we're adjusting it not yearly, but on a regular schedule so that it keeps up with the efficiencies while doing what it's supposed to do, which is making it easier for teachers to teach and not just do paperwork. With that, that is probably how I would answer it right now. But as we're going along and I'm understanding what it is that you all are wanting to know out of that question, I might answer it differently in a couple months.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for answering the questions. We appreciate it. We're going to give about a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes again, just for any closing remarks you would like to make. Since we started with Rebecca with the opening of the platform, Rouzy, will start with you with closing remarks.
Okay. How much time? I have like 2 minutes for this.
3 minutes. 3
Okay.
minutes. Yeah.
Plenty
3.
of time. So the entire basis of my platform is that we can't keep doing things the same way. Whatever we've been doing, it has not been working. So there have to be better solutions. And as an entrepreneur, I basically have to live. If I'm not on my toes, I'm dead in the water, right? So if there's a problem, I need to think of really quick solutions, and most of the time they have to be the right one. So I've basically been trained for the last 10 years to just think outside the box. So we have a problem. This is the way we did it before. Throw money at it, throw money at it, throw money at it. That's not going to work. So let's try to think smarter about a lot of things we're facing, not just education, but the environment and our economy. I mean, that's really the central focus of my platform. And the other one is, you're a public servant. This is a job where you are a public servant, and I feel a lot of people, including my primary challenger, have forgotten that you are a servant of the people. You are there to answer to them and ask them what they want, right? So I would want to have a monthly meeting with parents and be like, hey, what do you need out of your school? What would you like? How do I do this? And I think that's really the basis of this campaign. See, and it take 3 minutes.
Okay. No, that's great. All right, Rebecca.
Could you just, that's not a question. I'm with you. Sorry.
Sure, just your final, your closing
yes,
remarks.
Yes. And so I kind of feel like teachers are asking for too little. That when I'm looking at what it is that you all are asking for, I wish you were asking for a lot more. That you deserve a lot more, and that that maybe you all should start dreaming bigger so we can make that happen for you. I would love to do that. I realize that affordable housing, that you all should be living in our community where you're teaching. If you want to live here, we should be figuring out a way for you to be a part of our community. And as a part of teaching in our community, that you should be able to pay off your student, or we should be paying off your student loans in a reasonable amount of time. I also believe that there should be a teacher bill of rights. And as I understand it, and someone can correct me if I have the number wrong, but that there is a $26 billion deficit in the retirement fund for teachers in South Carolina. And so I am very aware of that and know that needs to be addressed now or yesterday, and that as part of my plan, I'm thinking about that every day. And I have a horrible memory, but that 26 billion sticks in my mind every day because I feel an obligation to address that as soon as possible.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate your time tonight, and good luck in the House 110 race. Like I said earlier, this will be on the SC for Ed website, on our YouTube channel also, and I will be posting it on the Charleston SC for Ed site. Thanks again. Have a great night.
It was good to meet you both.
It was great meeting
Yes, you as well. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
All
Thanks.
right.
Bye.
Okay,
Take
bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Record.
And record.
Hold on.